Hey guys, Michael Pizzullo here, psychotherapist in West Hollywood. I want to talk to you about a topic that comes up quite a lot, I think, in my job, but also just in general as a gay man, which is what makes sex unhealthy. So if we think about it, sex is part of life, and there have been different, paradigms and traditions that cultures have practiced for centuries that put boundaries over what they think is healthy and unhealthy regarding sexuality, and we've seen quite a lot of of those things expand recently and so on and so forth. But I think a lot of gay men still fall into the camp of feeling unsure. And unfortunately, the majority of literature that you find on sexuality is really biased. It's also a new topic really in psychology, and it's very heteronormative, which I don't use that word casually usually, but it is. So if you're a gay man and you're seeking out advice from mental health professionals, or even just looking at, psychological literature to understand what is quote unquote healthy regarding sex as a gay man, you may find yourself just coming up empty. So I want to give you a few ideas to think about. And again, sex is so subjective, so it's really not for anyone else to explicitly dictate for you what's right and what's wrong. But I do think there are a few parameters that gay men can follow to determine if the sex they're having is unhealthy in any way. So the first one is if you're using sex as a way to escape or avoid your feelings. And again, we all do things that make us feel good when we're feeling bad. I'm having a bad day, I go for a brownie, whatever. So that's, kind of par for the course human behavior. We like to use things that give us a quick fix. But if you're using sex, habitually as a way of, I'm feeling depressed, let me go have sex to escape that feeling, I'm feeling anxious, so on and so forth. If you're using it as a form of escape too often, or a way of numbing your feelings too often, then I would say that is something to look at, because you should be prioritizing the pleasure and the connection versus using it as some sort of, escape mechanism, if that makes sense. The other thing, I think this, maybe should go without saying, but sex that lacks boundaries and respect. Obviously, people can, be interested in different dynamics and so on and so forth, that's fine. But if there's no sense at all of consent or any boundaries, then you may want to think about, am I putting myself in a scenario where not just my safety could be at risk, but I'm just lacking self-respect, so on and so forth. I do think that is a component. That being said, doesn't mean you can't play around and do fun exploratory things, but if there's no boundaries at all or no safety at all involved, then I would suggest that may be something that leans a little bit more towards being unhealthy. I do want to put the caveat too that unhealthy sex shouldn't be about quantity, so it shouldn't be about there's a number of partners I'm allowed to have, or the amount of time I'm supposed to be doing it, or the number of times I'm supposed to be doing it. I think all of that should be really taken off the table for the most part. I mean, sure, things can get compulsive with anything, but we're not here to qualify sex in terms of there's a healthy number of partners and an unhealthy number of partners. So I just want to throw that out there in addition, because I think that can easily get bled into conversations with gay men and sex, is that the slut shaming can easily come into it. And I always like to remind people too that I never hear straight men complain that they're having too much sex or too many hot girls want to hook up with them, ever, or shaming themselves. If anything, they're giving themselves high fives and talking about, how awesome it is. But gay men are more prone to do that. So I think we have to be very careful when we talk about healthy and unhealthy sex. It doesn't devolve into some sort of, slut shaming conversation about what we're doing being good or bad in terms of the number of partners that we may have on a given day, week, month, year, so on and so forth. So anyway, those are a couple things to think about in terms of if the sex I'm having is unhealthy. Again, these are very loose parameters, and I kept it that way on purpose because it should not be too prescriptive. The point is that you should really be thinking about what works for you. And I would say the best way to really tell the difference is thinking about not how you feel before or even during sex, but how you feel afterwards. Do you get some sort of emotional hangover after sex? That, I think, is such a clear indicator to me that something got triggered emotionally that was just upsetting in some sort of way. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. I would think of it as like, our feelings are information, right? So ideally you have a sexual experience and afterwards you feel happy, satisfied, whatever. Even if it was not the best one, you just kind of move on with your day or whatever it was. But if you're left feeling some sort of shame, guilt, anxiety, so on and so forth, that to me is a sign that there was something that you were doing that was emotionally unhealthy for you. And again, it may be that it was the most benign, simple sexual experience that you've had in a long time, but still, there may be something emotionally unhealthy that got uncovered there, and it's just something that you can look at. You know, for example, maybe you went into a sexual encounter hoping for, you know, a big hit of validation and you didn't get it. So afterwards you felt, you know, the come down from that. So I think thinking about and checking in with yourself after experiences can be a really good way to tell if it was healthy or not for you, because you can run the scenario by friends or you know, by other people, and they might say, oh yeah, it's fine, it sounds like no big deal to me, you know, they can qualify it for you, but you know best how you felt after the experience. So use that as your litmus test to tell if there was anything unhealthy about this sexual experience, just according to your own internal compass and your own intuition. So I hope that was useful. Again, if you're a gay man, you know, I'm curious to hear your thoughts about this, and hopefully we can open up the conversation. And just know too that if you look this up on the internet, you may be lacking in terms of what you find, especially in terms of published research, which is fine. So I think that's why we have to have the conversations come up more organically, you know, on social media and so on and so forth. So don't be surprised if you don't find, you know, published literature that speaks so directly to this topic, because a lot of it's new. So we're still figuring things out, but I do think there's a lot of common understanding we can begin to pull together to really help one another out. So hope this was useful, and let me know your thoughts.